more than 20% of tree striking
Yo,
incidents.
he got stuck.
Tree.
Welcome back to another video, man. Welcome back to another reaction. In today's video, we are highlighting the 15 riskiest jobs in the world. How much money would y'all really be a skyscraper for, though? I want to know, if y'all watching this video, go ahead and comment down below. How much would you become a skyscraper for? If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, like the video. We're just going to go ahead and get straight into it, though. No cap.
Of the 7.5 billion people in the world, it's estimated that 70% are working, which means there must be around 5 billion jobs out there with millions of different sectors. Some people clock in regular 9 to 5 hours, and some people graft less conventional
I'm one of
days
them for
work,
the time
pulling
being.
longer hours in more extreme
Ooh.
conditions. Some jobs can be deadly without the right training. In today's video,
bro, he was getting beat up.
The
cop was getting beat up. He was getting punched on just now.
15. Power line maintenance. We'll kick things
Electrician.
off today by talking about one of the most dangerous jobs in the world that not many of us think about on a daily basis.
No, this is definitely dangerous.
Maintenance. According to some experts, this is one of the top 10 deadliest jobs on Earth, and it's not hard to see why. These brave men and women are elevated high into the air and then work hands-on with a lot of high voltage. And just think about how important these jobs actually are. If there's one thing most of us first worlders take for granted, it's electricity.
What I always wanted to know was, like, bro, if somebody was to fall off, do they have like something attached to them, like a parachute or something, or like something to kind of like that won't break their fall as hard or something? I never really knew that, but granted, I have a couple electrician friends, no cap, that like work in this trade. That's an interesting thing to know, though, seriously, because like, what happens if you really, I mean, not really what happens, because we already know what's going to happen. But
well, maybe that.
I don't really know, though.
But even without electricity,
I probably sound dumb as hell just now.
Internet. This job is so dangerous that for every 100,000 American power line maintenance workers, anywhere from 30 to 50 are killed just doing their job every single year.
And this is aside from getting electrocuted.
I'd say that this is a pretty risky job. Number 14.
I got a homeboy that just joined this trade too.
Working in the commercial fishing sector is an incredibly dangerous job for those who trawl out to sea. Fishing has the highest fatality rate in Canada and among the highest in the United States.
See, if y'all already don't know, bro, I can't swim, so this job, no. You would never catch me out here doing nothing like this.
More likely to die than other workers. The problem with commercial fishing is that the job takes place in unpredictable and often chaotic conditions.
Horrible conditions.
If something goes wrong on a fishing boat, like for example, the vessel is stuck with bad weather, it's not as if help can quickly be at hand, especially if the boat is in the middle of the ocean. Similarly, if a fisherman goes overboard in bad weather, there is very little that can be done. One of the most dangerous places to be is a fisher in Alaska, where shifts can be 18 to 20 hours long and the temperature be unbearably
It's a lot of factors to really think about when you're doing this stuff.
Thermia. Part of the problem with the fishing industry, at least in the United States, is that workers are not always well trained in disaster aversion. There are no mandatory safety reviews.
How you don't have a training for that? And this is one of the most dangerous jobs.
Prepared for unruly conditions, it's important that fishers and vessels have the right life-saving equipment on board, like life vests, ropes.
I need about 5 life vests on there. I'm not gonna lie. I need a floaty.
Pilot.
I need a couple things.
It's a dangerous job, but training and on-air traffic control make the daunting work a lot easier. Unlike some of the other dangerous jobs on our list, being a pilot is a pretty well-paid venture, but it does come with deep responsibility for the lives and safety of others.
Facts.
Pilots have to be vigilant at all times and regularly work super long hours. To become an airline pilot, a person needs to gain 1,500 hours of flight time and undergo rigorous training.
1,500 hours? That must be like the hour mark for everybody. I went to barber school. We needed to do 1,500 hours in order to be certified and, you know what I'm saying, take our test to become a licensed barber, pretty much. I feel like they need some more hours than that. I'm not gonna lie.
Other air traffic,
a lot of people that get out of barber school and mess up people's haircuts.
Emergencies and the low but possible risk of terror incidents. Planes can come into trouble in storms if birds fly into their engines, sure, but they also have increased risks of developing deep vein thrombosis, severe dehydration, and skin cancer from the increased exposure to UV.
I never thought of that one.
Generally a lot less at risk than charter pilots who work to fly planes in trickier areas. For example, charter pilots in Alaska have the tough job of navigating bad weather and landing in remote areas. It's important to remember, though, that human error is the #1 cause of deaths for airplane pilots.
Human
I
error?
don't know if that's comforting or scary.
No, that's scary, no cap. Have y'all ever got on a plane and y'all like had that mean migraine in y'all head? Like, I get those a lot, and that's like one of the worst things. Like, those are literally one of the worst pains I ever feel. You're going up in the air, or you just in the air for a minute, and like you just get a terrible pain in the middle of your forehead. It feels like somebody literally like stabbing your ass. That junk is so painful. I don't know. Maybe I sound retarded, but some people definitely know what I'm talking about though.
Number 12, roofer. The obvious danger when it comes to being a roofer.
This is dangerous,
falling off
but
a
not
roof,
one of the
which
most
can
dangerous,
cause
though, for
serious
sure.
Injuries or death. It's reported that being a roofer is the 4th most hazardous job in the United States, with 75% of roofing fatalities caused by falls.
Do they have certain
You may be
sneakers for
shocked
these
to
type
know
of
that
jobs
the heights
though,
don't
for the
even need
roofer?
to be that great. 2/3 of all roofing deaths happen at under 30 feet. The risk of falling could be greatly depleted by the use of personal fall arrest systems. But most roofers aren't provided with this safety measure, which means
Why?
if they fall, they fall. Another major
But
hazard
why,
that
though?
roofers
Like,
have
what?
to contend with is the risk of being electrocuted by coming into contact with overhead power lines, or even in extremely rare scenarios, lightning strikes. Also,
Sheesh.
dangerous as the hot tar.
If it's
often
raining
used
and
in
lightning
roofing
while I'm
and
working
also
on the
the
roof,
sharp
I'm not
equipment
working
is,
at that
being a
moment.
roofer is an average paying job, but the risks are quite a lot higher than standard employment opportunities. Number 11, refuse collector. It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. Being a
Refuse
garbage
collector, why
is
can't they
not
just say
only
the
sometimes
trash
kinda
man?
Stinky, it's also pretty risky. Did you know that sanitation workers experience twice the fatality rates of police officers? Each year, around
What?
33 waste collectors are killed on the job, with thousands more injured. The problem with refuse collection is what people throw away. Often broken glass, nails, or sharp pieces of
Oh.
wood can harm collection workers who don't realize they're picking up something dangerous. On
That's
top of
true. Okay, that makes
sometimes
sense.
People dispose of unsafe chemicals, which can be corrosive and/or
Twice the
poisonous
amount
if they
of
leak.
police officers, though, is
Sometimes
crazy.
biohazards like dirty needles will crop up in trash. On top of the actual waste risk, refuse collectors work in all weather conditions, from freezing cold icy days to boiling hot conditions. Heavy
Now, trash
vehicles
people, they
and
get paid a
often
lot of
heavy
money for
loads
sure.
mean that accidents
Or
can
refuse
and will
collector.
happen. As well as the health risks, a lot of refuse collectors feel personally stigmatized for the line of work, which isn't generally very lucrative at all. Number 10, truck drivers. Sometimes I think I'd love to take to the open road.
I thought about doing this before. I'm not willing to risk like running into nothing, running over people. I know y'all remember that one dude. He went to jail. They first gave him like 120 something years because he killed like a few people on the road, and his thing caught on fire, even though it wasn't his fault. Bro, stuff like that, hell no. It's no.
Living, but the health
It does make some
risks are
good money though,
actually
for sure. I know some people that do
shockingly
this too.
high. One of the main problems with being a truck driver is that it involves hours and hours of sitting. Studies have proven that humans need to move, ideally
People
every
be
30
falling
minutes.
asleep and stuff.
Evidence appears to suggest that sitting down with little movement all day is likely to lead to an earlier grave. Stagnancy is a contributing factor to obesity. And let's face it, where do you think most truck drivers get their food from?
The gas
Fast
station.
food drive-thrus and roadside grills are only going to add to
Oh.
the problem.
I was
Statistically,
wrong.
truck drivers are more likely to smoke too, which further strains their health. Stagnancy can also lead to hypertension, aka high blood
Definitely
pressure.
a lot of
Beyond
more
that,
obese truck
are
drivers
more
too.
susceptible to developing diabetes, fatigue, depression, spinal injuries, and sleep apnea. There's also the increased
Golly,
risk
all of that?
road. Nearly 90,000 crashes a year in the United States, and there are additional hazards when loading, unloading, and docking.
Backing into
Around
something and
918
crashing into
truck
it.
drivers
Like,
die each year in the United States, or 24.7 per 100,000 people.
and they be
Like a lot of
moving
jobs
too
on this
fast.
list,
They be going
truckers
faster than
don't
some of the
make a whole
cars.
lot of bank. Number 9, farmers. Farm work is no joke because of the heavy
What?
equipment and chemicals used as part of the job. 25.4 for
This is
every
one of the most
100,000
dangerous
farmers
jobs.
die each year in the United States, and the mortality rate among farmers is at its highest between April and September during the peak of the growing and subsequent
This is about to be
harvesting
April in a
season.
couple days.
The main threat to farmers are tractor accidents or all-terrain vehicle accidents. These days, the practice of farming is a lot safer because of rollover technology and new tractors.
That look mad
But of
nice.
course,
I would love to
accidents
drive one of
still
those
happen.
tractors.
Because that machinery and equipment are risky, some farmers report near-death experiences with grain bins, old silos, unseen wells, agricultural chemicals that can lead to long-term lung damage, sun exposure leading to higher risks of skin cancer, and of course rare but sometimes deadly run-ins with livestock. Stress is a
Bro,
major
you gotta be
risk for
careful.
farmers too, with unpredictable weather patterns meaning crops may, well, fail, threatening livelihood. Number
You gotta be
8.
careful though, no cap.
Steel and iron workers. Working
This
with
is another
metals
one of
is
them
obviously
crazy ass
dangerous.
jobs.
In 2005, the death per 100,000 rate for metal workers was 47, with the number only slightly improving in the past 15 years. There are 3 major dangers when working with
How much
iron
y'all
and
put y'all
steel.
hand on one
In
of those? No
mills,
cap.
workers
How much
are
would y'all put
exposed
your
to
hand on that
extreme
for?
temperatures that can
Dude,
seriously burn
oh
if something
no.
goes wrong. I don't want to be visceral, but furnace accidents do happen. Sometimes machinery explodes too.
Oh
On construction sites,
no.
workers can also be seriously burned from welding. All of the burning going on also
They damn near
releases
taking a
toxic
fire
chemicals
shower.
that can cause long-term lung damage and chronic diseases, as well as short-term injuries if workers are exposed to deadly toxins. In both mills and construction sites, there is increased risk of injury or death from falling. Metal workers will install steel beams to create
Yo, they
structural
don't even
frames,
have no
which
type of
often
equipment on
involves
them.
climbing and balancing in high places. Equipment is also at risk of falling and injuring workers on the ground. Crane collapses, for example, pose a serious threat. Metal workers are more likely than workers in other area trades to be fatally injured from a fall. Less deadly but still concerning risks that come from metal work include possible repetitive muscle strains and injuries and gradual loss of hearing. Number 7. Miners. Historically, mining has been one of the most dangerous professions of all time. Miners are 3 times more likely to die in the U.S. than other workers, but the mortality rate was much higher than, say, 100 years ago, before the introduction of safety equipment and regulations. Mining pays slightly above average, but the rigors of the job are intense.
I feel like this is another
Miners
one of
spend
those
most the
jobs where
days
they
in
should pay
dark,
more for sure.
underground conditions, so claustrophobics are out of the running. Often tunnels are unstable and prone to collapse or flooding. Often mining can release dangerous gases which can poison
Claustrophobia.
workers too. Back in the day, miners would famously take a canary down a mine shaft, and if they stopped singing, they knew to get out of the tunnel immediately. Canaries and other small birds have tiny lung capacities, so they would be poisoned by gas much quicker than a human would be. Of course, these days, miners carry carbon monoxide detectors with them so they don't have
what?
to risk the lives of the birds.
Look how small that wall is.
In mining, and workers can suffer long-term issues with dust inhalation. Some of the world's worst mining incidents took place in the late 1800s and early 1900s. The 1906 Courrières mine disaster led to the death of 1,099 people in France. A Chinese disaster in 1942 took the lives of over 1,500 people as a result of a fire and the cruel decision to seal off the mine and let workers perish. One of
Wow,
the most
that's
recent
that's
deadly
fucked
mining
up.
disasters took place at the Soma mine in Turkey in 2014 when an explosion led to the deaths of 301 people.
Golly.
Number 6. Construction workers. Working construction is hard. and
Definitely another one of
dangerous.
those
According to the Occupational Safety
more
and
so
Health
dangerous jobs
Administration,
for sure.
Construction workers made up 21.4% of workplace fatalities in 2015. Working in construction is an average paying occupation with some big risks. The fatal 4 in construction are in order: falling, being stuck by an object, electrocution, and being caught between objects.
Wow.
As an entrepreneur,
That's too much for me, bro. Like, yo.
all the time. Shop.
Falls account for 80% of construction deaths, and this is because workers in construction have to contend with roofs, ladders, and scaffolding regularly. Power tools are dangerous too, as are machinery and equipment like forklifts and other trucks. On top of that, construction can involve fires and the burning of carcinogens. The risk of death is one thing, but it's way more likely that a construction worker would simply just be injured on the job. But some injuries can make working in the physically strenuous field impossible to do again. Number 5, police. The words police officer are pretty contentious at the moment. A lot of people feel at risk as a result of run-ins.
I mean, yeah, this
and
is
I want to
definitely
take a moment just to recognize that.
Definitely one of the more
intended role of the
dangerous
police
jobs,
is to
of
keep
course.
Peaceful law and order. Whether or not that is currently working or not is a separate talking point, but the risks associated with that for the officer can be far-reaching. While a lot of police work is bureaucratic, officers have regular run-ins with drunks, violently ill people, and violent
Facts.
criminals. Police officers are called
Drunks
into
for
risky
sure.
situations. At the extreme end, a police officer may have to defuse a bank heist or a hostage situation or chase an armed homicidal suspect. But they also have to deal with lower octane but still dangerous situations like domestic abuse complaints. Also, police officers often need to drive at high speeds, which can lead to road accidents. While it is rare, officers can also be victims of targeted attacks, and the fear of that kind of incident can play heavy with their stress
That's
levels.
crazy.
Some police officers can become vulnerable to mental illnesses like PTSD. They can be exposed to some extreme situations, and without proper counseling, their mental health is
They can
always
go
at
crazy.
risk.
Yeah.
All things considered, while being a police officer is risky, statistically, the number of people killed
Dog.
or critically injured by police is
Yo,
higher
they were
than the
running
number
away
of
from the
officers
criminal.
killed or critically injured in the line of duty. In 2019, 1,098 people were killed by police compared with 48 officers feloniously killed and 41 accidentally killed. Number 4.
That's a
loggers.
crazy
If you're unsure
differential
what a
though.
logger actually does other than, work with logs, the
Ooh.
role is a physically demanding job where the worker will cut down or cut up trees. The dangers with this job are multi-pronged. Machinery, heights,
You can
and
cut yourself, you can
falling
get hit in
timber
the
all pose
head.
significant threats. In the
could
logging
fall.
industry, there is a certain type of tree
You could get some
referred to
caught in
as
your
a
face and your
widowmaker
eye.
because of its common threat. Widowmakers are shikid trees, and they're a contributing factor in more than 20% of tree striking
Yo,
incidents.
oh,
A
he got
shikid
stuck.
Tree is a tree that has become dry or rotten on the inside, but may
Bro,
look
did he get
fine on the
stuck?
outside. These trees are total hazards and all too regularly fall on unsuspecting workers. Being a logger is a high-risk
Sheesh.
job in all countries, inclusive of the United States, where, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, loggers have the highest number of deaths per 100,000 workers, with
Wow.
over 132 expected to die from that number and around 2,450 others injured.
Wow.
This figures making logging 39 times more dangerous than the average job in the United States, although it's below average on the pay scale. A logger can expect
That's
to
weird
make
how,
30
like,
to 40,000
the
bucks
more
a
dangerous
year,
jobs don't
leading
even
a
pay
lot
that
of people
much.
to ask whether or not it's worth the risk. Number 3,
Right.
taxi driver chauffeur. Driving people for a living. Can
This
be a
is one
tough
of the
job,
more
and
dangerous jobs. I
depending
mean, it
on
makes
who you're
sense,
driving
but
and where, it isn't exactly a high-paid vocation. Drivers are at risk from
That's
threatening
crazy.
or poorly behaved customers, and if you consider the recent COVID saga, they're also exposing themselves to close quarters with people they don't know who could well be traveling sick. Financially,
Not
the
even
risk of
that.
being
They
a
go try to
driver in a
rob your
traditional
ass.
taxi is that clients won't pay. Although rideshare apps like Uber and Lyft have made the whole industry safer by removing the cash element, which also reduces potential robbery risks. The risk that comes from driving for a living is that roads can be dangerous places, and the more you drive, statistically, the more likely you are to experience a road accident. Taxi drivers
Bro,
are also
forget
at
all
risk
of that.
exhaustion,
Forget all of
including
that,
long
bro.
hours and similar long-term illnesses as truck drivers, as they don't move around for a living. According to OSHA, taxi drivers have a homicide rate of over 20 times that of an average
homicide,
worker.
Exactly.
Number 2.
That's the
Cement
more
mixing.
dangerous part about it, if you ask
Properly
me.
realized by now, any physical labor job that involves machinery comes at an increased risk of injury. With cement mixing, hazards can arise from improper use of machinery, and the machines here are heavy duty. It's rare, but construction workers do accidentally fall into the mixer, which is often fatal. While that
God.
is unlikely and extreme, other cement workers experience chemical reactions
Falling
when they come
into
into
the
contact with
mixer?
wet cement, which can cause first, second, and third degree burns. The real issue with cement workers is that extreme and unnoticed hazards of cement dust. Short-term exposure to cement dust can irritate the eyes and
That
nose,
dude he
but
has on
long-term
nothing,
exposure
literally.
can cause
He don't even got on no
silicosis
long
and
sleeve or
lung
nothing.
cancer. proper safety equipment and clothing is important for minimizing the risks posed to cement workers.
How much this
On top
pay?
of the risk posed to industry professionals, concrete trucks pose a road safety hazard too, as do unattended cement mixers. Number 1.
The number one
Landscaper.
most
Landscaping
dangerous
can be
job is a
risky job with
landscaper?
around 18 deaths per 100,000 workers. As I'm sure you can guess by now, a lot of risks come from working with equipment and machinery. Ladders, trimmers, mowers, they all pose risks. In April 2019, a landscaper was reported to have passed away in Kentucky when he lost control of his mower and drove into a pond. Mowers are involved in a lot of landscaping injuries.
He must have couldn't
I don't want to
swim.
get too ghoulish about it. I'm sure you can imagine. Landscapers work in all weather too.
Bro,
which
I
can
would've jumped
sometimes
right
be
off, I'm gonna be
dangerous.
honest.
An overlooked risk to landscapers is tick bites. Obviously, landscaping professionals work outdoors, which means they're at risk of being bitten or attacked by wildlife. If a person is bitten by a tick, there's a chance they could develop Lyme disease.
Oh
Of
my
course, there are
gosh.
risks of road accidents from transporting equipment to, and the possibility of angering a customer who could turn nasty.
I don't really
That was
know. I don't
15
think
of
this
the
is number
riskiest
one,
jobs
though.
in the world right there for you. Some jobs are more dangerous than others, but the biggest risk, in my opinion, is spending your life doing something you don't like. Health and safety
Facts.
can be
That was a
job
bar right there.
satisfaction.
The most dangerous job to me on this list, though, I'd have to honestly go with electrician, steel and iron workers, and the miners for sure. Having landscaper as the number one dangerous job is, I don't know. It's crazy how the most dangerous jobs are the ones that don't even pay that much. With that being said, though, that's the end of this video. Hope y'all enjoyed, no cap. And if you did, be sure to subscribe to my channel. So then we're going to catch y'all in the next one, though. No cap.